Hi guys, welcome to Ex-Hale Online with Pwavee, and this is the 28th day in the month of September, virtually the last Sunday of the month, and God has been very faithful, taking us from this January all the way to September, and now we're approaching the very last few hours and days in the month of September. And you should be grateful to God for that privilege and that opportunity that He has given you to be able to see 9 full months in 2025. It's not an easy thing. Trust me, you are one of the privileged ones that God has allowed to see this new to see this month thus far and prepare you to see October, because you will see October. So my name is Pwavee Paul Demsa, and I want to welcome you again to Ex-Hale Online. And I want us to kick off by this. Today we're going to be talking about breaking unhealthy sexual patterns in marriage. Now, for a few weeks we've been talking about breaking unhealthy sexual patterns for young adults, but this happens to be for the married couples. And it's one of those conversations that married people do not like to have, because everyone likes to front their marriage to be one of the picture perfect marriages, especially if you go to social media. One of the things you see on Instagram, if you even see their pictures, you see their videos with their spouses and their kids, you are so craved to get married. But at the same time, in that same social media platform, you will see disasters, so many things happening. You would see I remember one that I watched of a woman, following her husband into the mall and embarrassing him while he was with his side chick. And it ended up becoming a very big scandal, a very shameful scandal. Not to talk about, we have those that have murdered their spouses. It's just a complete mess. But I want us to sit down today, and I want us to talk to married couples. So if you're married, this is for you. But first and foremost, I'd like to emphasize that, please, if you enjoy what we do, please always click on the share button so that others can watch, like, and comment, so that I know that you are there. Don't just appear and disappear. Someone was telling me, I follow you, and I'm like, I have never seen your comment. I have never seen, so the person just sent a message in one of the, she doesn't believe I watch. So, but if you are here, please like, share, and comment, so that we know that you are on board with us. And please, if you've not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, we've uploaded more videos, so please go there, subscribe, like, comment, and let me know that you have subscribed. All right. So to kick off with it, like I said, we're talking to married couples today. So it's breaking unhealthy sexual patterns in marriage. So I'm going to kick off because in their case, for the married, I'm going to use a lot of the Bible, because as a Christian, for me, that's the core essence of marriage. The foundation of marriage is centered around God. So I cannot remove God from this. So you guys will forgive me for those of you who are anti-religious minds and all that, but I cannot remove God when I'm talking to the married couples, because that's the very core of the foundation for married couples, that you can't remove God. So Genesis chapter 22 to 25, if you permit me, I'll read it very quickly. It says, then the rib which God had taken from man, and he made into a woman and brought her to him, which is the man. And Adam said, this is now the bone of my bone and the flesh of my flesh, and she shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. And therefore a man will leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, and the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed. This is one of, like, I think 25 is one of my favorite verses when I'm talking to married. They were naked before each other. People think, oh, it's naked aspect, they removed their clothes and everything, no. Aside the fact that, yes, they were physically naked at the time, but it was not really much more about that. It was so much more about their transparency to one another. It was about being open to one another. There was nothing hidden about to each other. They were so, they had the conversations. People argue that there were other people roaming the earth at that time. And in fact, I heard something recently. Somebody said there were other women Adam had, but for me, I want to stick to what the word of God says. I don't want to add anything. I don't want to subtract anything. So I understand that Adam and Eve were, basically the only humans. The others were animals, and so that companionship was there. So they would talk a lot. They probably interacted a lot, but basically they were transparent to one another because of that. And most marriages are suffering today because there's no transparency. There's no accountability. And the moment one person demands for accountability, it becomes a thing. It becomes a problem. You start hearing, you're trying to control me. You're trying to monitor me. You're trying to police me, as it were. And, people use this common phrase, especially if you're in Nigeria, it's see finish because you've stayed with me. So you think, and everything is centered around infidelity at most. And infidelity, mind you, may not just necessarily be what you think it is. It's not just when the man steps out on the wife or the wife steps out on the man. Infidelity is so much more than that. Infidelity can come in different ways. You could cheat on your spouse with so many things. And if you remember when we talked about, let's talk about sex, I said it's not just starting having physical sex with another person that makes you cheat on your partner, right? Or your spouse. And I'm going to be using the word spouse more often because I'm talking to the married couples. Now, one of the things I want couples to understand is that God designed marriage to be, a beautiful experience. He designed intimacy. He designed sex. Let me use that word. He designed sex. He designed intimacy. He designed that bond to be a beautiful, a holy, and a very fulfilling thing. And that's why you would see Adam say, this is the bone of my bone, this is the flesh of my flesh, because she comes from inside of me. And because she comes from inside of me, and I can have fellowship with her, and God made sure that marriage became a beautiful thing, intimacy became a beautiful thing. But now we have a lot of people who have made up their minds to make marriage to be something that is controversial because of intimacy issues. We have so many excuses. Now, there are so many have unhealthy sexual patterns in marriage. And one of the things would be, I talked about it when I was talking to young adults, unrealistic expectations. You came with a kind of mind when you were marrying this person, or you saw this person, she's beautiful, she's gorgeous, she looks appealing. Somebody might even say, my wife is very sexy, because we use those terminologies. And then of course, have you seen my husband? My husband is huge, he's buffed, he has six pack, and we are boasting about it. But now the expectations come after marriage, because do not forget, I'm talking to marital couple. I'm not talking to young adults. So the idea is, after marriage, there will be intimacy. They will have physical relations, right? Sex, as it were. Now, most people have already envisioned what it would be like with their partner. They want something phenomenal. They want something unforgettable. And then when you go and you find out that, this isn't what I bargained for. I can't keep up with her sexual appetite, or she's not meeting my sexual drive, or she's not what I want. She doesn't physically appeal to me, or I am not sexually drawn to her. There's no chemistry, as it were. Then you find out that person now begins to look outside. And it's not necessarily the man, because trust me, women do it to now in marriage. So unrealistic expectations are one of those things. Pornography influences, because of course, like I told you, porn is not just something that young adults alone indulge in. We have couples, marital partners. A husband is addicted to porn, a wife is addicted to porn, and because porn also has a way it draws you away from your partner, because now you want to find other ways to satisfy yourself. Now, like I said, it gives birth to masturbation. And once those things happen, of course, definitely one partner is being pushed aside, one partner is being left unattended to, which would obviously give birth to both parties, engaging into unhealthy sexual patterns. Another thing would be the trauma-based situation, and I talked extensively about that when I was talking to young adults, which also applies to marriage and just every other person. Like I told you, people have traumas, maybe a rape case or abuse as a child, or somebody was, molested as a child. These are things that could affect one growing up, and then they bring it into their marriage, and of course it starts an unhealthy sexual pattern. And do not forget, every married partner or every married spouse was once a young adult. So if you are struggling with those issues right from young adulthood and you took it into, the chances are you will take it into marriage if you have not broken in that pattern. If you are someone that was addicted to porn as a young adult, chances are when you get married and you have not dealt with that thing, it will eventually creep up in your marriage, and before you know it, you are a bit distant from your partner, because already you have a method, you have something that works for you, and you are not carrying your partner along. So obviously your partner is going to feel sex starved. You yourself have already discovered an unhealthy pattern that you're already trending into, and most likely you will push your partner into it. So trauma-based responses, like I said, things that have been an issue for us right from when we're childhood, are things that have also affected people even into marriage, right? But I want you to know that there is good news. There is healing that can come into those situations, no matter what the situation. If you can find that healing, if you follow us on this series for the next few days ahead, trust me, we'll take you on that journey to be able to understand it, why it's there, and then eventually how to break it. Because if you don't understand the root cause, like I said when I was talking to young adults and we were talking about the healing and how to break, one of the things I talked about was, do not just take care of the fruit, deal with the root. Because if you don't deal with the root, trust me, the fruit will still manifest itself eventually, because no matter what happens, if you pluck out the fruit and the root is still existing, it will still grow and it will still produce fruit. So if you are looking to break the pattern, we have to take it from the root cause, and you have to understand what is the root of the unhealthy sexual pattern. So we're going to start off, and like I told you, for marital couples, I cannot remove the word of God out of it, because like I told you, God is the core foundation of marriage. He is the one that designed intimacy between man and woman. The two shall become one flesh, and there's a reason why the two become one flesh, when in the place of intimacy. So every time you become intimate with someone other than your spouse, you are equally joining yourself to that person. And remember, that's one of the dangers of an unhealthy sexual pattern, like I told you, for the young adults, and even in marriage. Because if you are married to someone but you're stepping out on your spouse and you're joining yourself with someone, you are equally knitting yourself with that person in the place of oneness, because the original design and intention for sex, for intimacy between a husband and wife, is to join them and make them one person. So we're gonna do that, and I just pray you'll be patient enough to follow me on this journey as we deal with these things and have understanding together concerning these scriptures. Because one of the things that I have learned about people is we want to take shortcuts. We don't want to pay the price, and yet other people are suffering for it. Now, I want to read Romans chapter 12, verse 2 for you, because again, we want to understand what is the root of unhealthy sexual pattern in marriage. What are some of the roots if we understand them, we'll be able to find out how to break them, right? So number one, we'll be dealing with is understanding the root of unhealthy sexual patterns. So I'll be taking it from Romans chapter 12, verse 2, and it says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable will of God. Do not conform, right, to this world, but be renewed. Now, I want you to understand that the essence of Christianity for us is to be like Christ, to be like God. And our relationship with our spouse, God likened it to be a relationship with him, right? That's why he would say later on in the New Testament, the same Genesis, he would quote and say, for this cause a man shall leave his father and his mother, and he shall be joined to his wife. And then he said, yet I do not speak exactly about this. I'm talking about Christ and the church. So God takes intimacy between marriage very serious, because it's an imitation and a replica of his relationship with us, Christ's relationship with us, how he wants us to be intimate with him. And so anytime we step out, it's like breaking God's heart, because this isn't what I intended. This is like a child of God, leaving the faith and just going and messing up themselves. That is how God would view it. So he says, do not be conformed. Do not allow yourself to be sucked up by these things that are happening nowadays. There's trends that are going on right now. I was talking to someone and he said, back in the days, we would always hear that men, were cheating on their wives, stepping out. Men had children outside, they didn't tell their wives. But now, in these days, oh my God, it's so rampant. And it's so heartbreaking, because now we find men, demanding for DNA and discovering that most of the children in their houses are not even theirs, which means madam stepped out, or madam had something to do with someone, or a husband, is out, maybe he's in the military or he's out on his job or something, and madam is helping herself with someone close by, the brother of the husband or something, or a guy is stepping outside with his secretary, and lying, okay, I'm traveling over for a job, whatever, but he's having a weekend in with another person. And then, it's a mess. This particular topic gets me, because I try to sit down and look at it with the eye of God, how he's looking down and how he's seeing something that is supposed to be a replica of his relationship with us, and how we are relating with one another, and we are thinking in our eyes that we are smart. And the painful thing is that people are now hailing it, and they're giving it like a vibe. It's something that everybody is celebrating. Oh, the guy, he's sleeping with multiple women, and he suddenly becomes the dawn in the midst of his friends. And then, when they catch the lady, oh, she's a strong woman. And it's so crazy. I was watching, I'm a fan of tonight's conversation online, and I followed them, and then there was this lady who was bold enough to come out and say, what, how do I get the man to be focused on me? And they asked her, what is it? And she was like, no, she's the side chick, but how does she get him to be more in tune with her and release the wife? And I'm like, are you serious? In fact, I think everybody was a bit disgusted on that panel, because how do you come and find somebody happily married, or even if it's troubled married, but you want to be the reason why that marriage scatters completely? You want him to leave. You're even asking for advice. How do we go about the man leaving his wife for me, who is a side chick? And it's so crazy, because these things happen every day. We hear it. Sometimes we feel it's a normal thing, but it's not a normal thing. That is not what God designed, please. Because every time we do that, we break his heart, because the intention of marriage is to showcase his relationship again with man. So every time you jump into another bed and another bed and another bed and another bed and another bed, you're telling him, like, what, even in my relationship with you, I can't be faithful to you because I can't even be faithful to the human that I'm seeing. Talk less of you that I do not see. Do you understand my point? So understand that your mind has to be renewed. You have to understand that the root cause of unhealthy sexual pattern is because the mind is not conformed to what God wants. The mind is conformed to the world. The mind wants to enjoy the pleasures that they see. And you remember what I said when I was talking about, to young adults? I said, it's out there. Sex is out there, dime a dozen. And it's amazing now that the trend now is, you would think that the wedding ring is something that should scare other people off. But I discovered now that the ladies even prefer the men with the ring. The guys prefer the women with the ring because they feel it's safer. And I asked a young lady once, and I was asking her, what's your flavor? And she told me, she said, no, she prefers matured men. In fact, as a matter of fact, he has to be married. And I was asking her why. And this was her response. She said, they know how to take care of women. They know what they want. They know how to take and value, and they're givers. They know how to give. They're not like these young guys that when you talk, they don't have. These ones are willing to do the extra for you because you are doing the extra for them that their wife cannot do. And usually it is sex, right? And then amazingly, I got to hear from a young guy, and I'm asking him the same thing. And this is what he said. He said, well, he prefers the matured ladies because he believes that they are more matured. They also want secrecy. Their husbands are not satisfying them. So he's virtually helping them and helping their marriages. Now, this is the mindset of the world. This is how the mind of the world works. And so if our minds are tuned to the way the world is reasoning it, we're already out of place. That's why our mind has to be renewed. It has to be configured to think the way God is. Okay, I'm sorry. There was a brief our network just shook a bit. So again, I don't know what's going on with the network today, but hopefully we'll be able to finish in good time. So let's take a few examples of unhealthy patterns. Neither does their body. So if you look at it, if you remember when we were talking about, let's talk about sex. I remember telling you that you using withholding sex from your partner is wrong because eventually you're still pushing him out there. Now, think about it. You're punishing your spouse because you felt they cheated, so you're not going to allow them touch you, or you are denying them sex because you are offended about something, or they didn't buy what you really wanted, or she didn't cook your favorite meal, or she's giving you out or something, but you're using it as a form of punishment. Now, don't you think that denial itself, why it's unhealthy, is because what you're doing is you're subconsciously pushing your spouse to go look for it outside, because the more you keep using it as a weapon and as a punishment, guess what? They're going to find somebody who is willing to give them. So whether you are punishing or not, it's not like I really don't care anymore anyway. Since you keep holding it back, I have found somebody who is willing to give it to me. So that is why we would brand that as unhealthy. So like I said, we're just giving examples and we're going to follow it down. Now, another thing would be pornography driven expectations. You're somebody who was addicted to porn, even as a young adult. Now you've grown, you're married, and there are things you see in your head. You fantasized it, you planned it, and then now you want to do it with your partner. You want to tie their hand up. You want to flog them. You want to, you want to spank them. You want to do this, and your partner may not be on the same page with you, in the sense that your partner is not a porn person, right? Your partner probably came, I just love you. I want to marry you. I want to settle down. But for every time you watch porn, you want to do what they are doing. And now you have made your unhealthy sexual pattern to become a pattern in the house, right? And it's a problem on its own. So, when you have used porn, or when porn has taken over your mind and you have watched it, do not forget that we're talking about the conforming. Now your mind has started conforming to the images you have seen in those videos, the images you have seen in those movies. Now you want to practice, or you want to experience it with your partner, and you're putting your partner through an unpleasurable situation because of an unhealthy pattern you have brought in, and you want to now introduce them to it. Now somebody said, well, it's healthy. What if my partner and I are watching porn together, and we're doing it to build our sex life? Well, that may be entirely up to you. But my question for you is, for every time you guys watch it, can you guys really be sincere that you're just watching it to build your relationship? Or eventually there's some certain things you're watching, your partner may not be able to do, so you take it outside and find someone younger who may be able to deliver that experience for you. Because most people, like I said, when we started, Genesis 2:25, they were naked before each other and they were not ashamed. Have you sat down to discuss your sexual expectations before marriage and even after marriage? Because let's even assume that both of you have never had sex. Let's assume, right? And then both of you come together now and you are experiencing it together, right? For the very first time. Now, after that, you have built it. What are your expectations? What do you want to come out of this? Because if you don't tell your partner and you're not explaining to your partner will not know. But if you're trying to borrow the concept, from maybe your ex-girlfriend that you were sleeping with, or your ex-guy, and you want to bring it here, and you guys were having wild sex or wild orgies, or threesomes, twosomes, because there's nothing I've not heard today. Now couples are there's a thing they call open marriage. I don't even know what that is, right? Open marriage, where we're both allowed, we're married, but we are open to other people coming in. That's a very unhealthy sexual pattern, and I will get to that hopefully very soon. Now, silence and avoidance due to shame, over spiritualizing that neglects physical intimacy. And I talked about that when we were talking about let's talk about sex. And I said, so people over spiritualize it. And, when you should be making love to your partner, that's when you want to pray. That's when you want to fast. That's when you're doing this. That's when you're doing that. And your partner does not know. Your partner is not in the know of your fast. And I'll find those scriptures for you and we'll talk about them. I'll probably have to refresh your minds and everything. And finally, emotional disconnection that is leading to mechanical intimacy. You're not really, there's no connection between your partner and you, no chemistry, you're not emotionally there, maybe because there was a quarrel between both of you at home. So that emotional disconnection is there. So when it comes to the period where there should be intimacy, you are withdrawn. You don't want to submit, or you don't want to give in, because there is that maybe a pain or a fight, that there was an unhealed pain, and you guys have moved past it, but the other partner has not really moved past it. And, eventually you start disconnecting yourself emotionally from it. And that's what really kills a lot of marriages, that you find them stepping out, because already there's that disconnect emotionally. So you find that a partner or a spouse wants to hug their wife, hug their, there's that irritation. And to be honest with you, like I said, I always use myself as example to stuff like this. I was one of those who you could probably say was found myself into that kind of situation, whereby you see it happening, but then you now tell yourself that no, I don't want to have anything to do with the person. There's no connection between me and this person. I'm not feeling the person. And the reason why is because there's an emotional disconnect. You feel betrayed. Maybe you found out that your partner had cheated on you, or you found a message or something that just broke your heart. So you start pulling away and all that. So I'm going to stop right now because my time is already up. But I want us to take this very, very serious, especially for those who are married, because, you know, a lot of marriages are going through right now. The rate of divorce is alarming, a lot attributed to unhealthy sexual patterns from maybe one spouse or both of the spouse to one another. And it's really sad, because like I said, the core foundation of marriage is centered around God. God is the foundation of marriage. So every time a marriage is shaken and marriage is tampered with or destroyed, it affects a lot, because it's how God views our relationship with him. So every time a marriage is broken, it's like breaking a relationship with God. Do you understand what I mean? And I'll explain further when we come on Wednesday. So I want to thank you for taking our time to watch. Thank you, Pastor Isha. I see you. God bless you. Thank you, Hilda. Adamu, I appreciate you as well. And I see others coming and going. Thank you. This show would not be possible without you. This broadcast would not be possible without you. So thank you so much. But please, again, like I said, share, like, comment, and then go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. I appreciate you. And remember, Christ is coming back very, very soon. I take this very, very serious. Christ is coming back very, very soon. Be prepared. Allow your heart, you know, to remind you on a daily basis that he is coming back very soon. You cannot afford, you know, to be unprepared. So be prepared and stay true, stay rapturable, right? Be the reason why someone smiles this week and don't want to take their life. I love you, and I see you on Wednesday by 5:30. Yeah, it's a date. Mwah.